You're listening to a Soul One podcast. We have a very special guest today, Katie, friend of the show, a friend of Taylor. But since Katie's here, Mike, and we know you are a theater guy, Katie is a former art school student. I had this headline that I was dying all week to get your 2 cents on. So I'm going to read you guys the headline, and then I just want your raw, unfiltered takes. Okay,
Well,
are you
I'm
ready?
ready. How are you, Katie? Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Okay.
Well, let's do this.
Carly Rae Jepsen and Leah Dunham are making a 10 Things I Hate About You musical.
For the stage or a movie?
For Broadway.
I don't. Who are these people?
You're shocked. You don't. Okay, Katie, you know who Leah Dunham is and Carly Rae Jepsen. You fill Mike in.
Okay, so I hate to burst your bubble, but I actually am very up on this news.
Of course you are.
So Lena Dunham of Girls fame.
Oh, Girls. Okay.
Claimed she is the voice of our generation, as she would say herself.
Oh, okay.
I think that, after Girls, she kind of got a bit of a bad rap, but I think she's kind of on a bit of a, a lot of people are revisiting Girls. I'm actually revisiting Girls and a lot of her work, and maybe we were a bit too hard on her, but maybe not. Who's to say?
I loved Girls. I was a diehard Girls fan. I thought she really captured what it was like to be in your 20s as a woman. But I have not followed her career at all, Katie. I know that she's done like Birdie and stuff, but
she didn't. She's done a lot of writing. I haven't really followed her career closely either. She got a lot of flack for an article that she wrote where she called herself the voice of her generation, and people took issue with that. But I don't know. I'm rewatching Girls right now, and I'm like, yeah, she was kind of onto something. And Carly Rae Jepsen, of course, of Call Me Maybe fame.
Canadian, I believe.
Canadian icon.
Wait, well, hold on. What does that mean?
Huge.
What's Call Me Maybe?
You don't know what Call Me Maybe is?
No. Why would
I don't. I can't sing a bar. Katie, can you sing it?
No, I'm not going to sing a bar either.
Okay.
You're going to have to listen
I'll
to it.
look it up and insert it into the episode.
Oh,
huge radio hit, like so big that even when I was in Europe, like it was playing on the radio.
Yeah,
wow.
like
I
don't know how anyone missed that song.
I never heard of it. Don't know the artist. I just looked the song up though. Here it is. I believe, looks like it's on the YouTube.
So, okay, well, Mike is, I mean, I should have known. He doesn't know who anyone is, but in terms of music.
Yeah, this is like
2012. Does that make sense? 2012.
Yeah, so the Vulture article I found was like historians are still trying to unpack the year that was 2012 because it was the year that Girls debuted and it was the year that Call Me Maybe came out. So 2012, huge year. We weren't in grad school yet, right? We were just finishing undergrad.
Yeah, 2012 would have been third year undergrad for us, I think.
That was
we graduated undergrad in 2013.
Big year for me, third year university. Really hit my stride.
Yeah,
so that checks out.
Yeah.
So I know we have a huge episode, Katie, because you're producing it and you have lots of thoughts. But I want to know your thoughts on this Broadway because you love musicals. You are saying that you actually think Leah Dunham maybe should be reevaluated her career. I feel like, do we not have enough nostalgia adapted IP? Like, do we need this musical? Essentially, it's just Shakespeare anyways. What's your 2 cents?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of musicals currently are existing IP. Like, I subscribed to Mervish this season, and every single musical was like, it was Moulin Rouge, Beetlejuice, Back to the Future. Like, it's all existing IP. That just seems to be what we're doing now.
Right.
I won't lie, I am pretty excited about this. I love 10 Things I Hate About You, and I'm willing to overlook the fact that they are really just trying to appeal to our generation and make a lot of money. And one more thing is, and this will be, of note to a very specific group of people, but the choreographer who has been paired on this project, his name is Christopher Wheeldon, and he's actually from the ballet world, and he's a really renowned choreographer. But he kind of broke into Broadway with MJ, the Michael Jackson musical, which got like rave reviews. And so the fact that he is now tied to this project makes me even more excited because I love his choreography. I am from the ballet world, I think, as you mentioned on the show. And so I am excited to see where this project goes.
Mike, I know this will be a hot take because you only sort of half know who these people are. What's your hot take?
Well,
I do want to just quickly interject. I think it's interesting that it's a Broadway adaptation and not a movie adaptation. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe
I'm sure they'll do the musical on Broadway and then they'll make a movie of it like they did with Mean Girls. That's just, it's the
pipeline.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
I can go now? Okay. Yeah. I think, I don't know any of these people. But 10 Things I Hate About You and even Taming of the Shrew, which is what it's based on from Shakespeare, I think there's enough there that you could definitely make a musical out of it. I mean, anytime that Shakespeare's been adapted to a musical, it has gone pretty well. Like there are musical adaptations that are based on Shakespeare shows that has been pretty well done. So the fact that, the movie itself's quite good, the play it's from is quite good. There's potential. I mean, Mean Girls, the musical is okay. Like if you just watch the musical and not the movie, it is like it's watchable. It's entertaining in of itself. So the Broadway show could be good. But as Katie just pointed out, what I'm concerned about is the movie adaptation of the Broadway musical that we're going to get with the trailer that hides the fact that it's a musical.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We all know that's going to happen, right?
But didn't Elton John just recently have a show open, maybe not Broadway, but the English equivalent, and it had to close before its full run? So just because the project is announced doesn't mean that it might still be a flop. Katie, is this ringing any bells? The Elton John. I don't know if it was a biopic or if he just wrote the music, but it had to close early.
That's not ringing a bell to me.
Okay.
Did he write a musical about Tammy Faye Baker, I think?
Oh,
maybe?
yes. I think that might be the one.
Yeah. Okay. So this is ringing bells. I didn't actually follow what had happened with that. So
because you'd think with a name like Elton John that it would go well. But anyways, all that to say, we'll have to stay tuned. I don't think the song or the book has been written yet. So we're in like early stages.
Yeah, this is probably several years away. Like to be honest, depending upon it depends how it was greenlit, right? Because it could be doing. Often Broadway shows will do like they'll kind of try to put together the show in somewhere like Chicago or Detroit and do like a short run and go through a workshop phase and then bring it to Broadway. It all depends upon how much they want to fast track it. But it's definitely not coming like this fall. It's going to be a while.
We'll have to stay tuned. All right, now we can go to the actual show. Katie, why don't you tell us?
I just want to say one thing because I did look up this Tammy Faye thing, and it said that it was due to close on December 3rd. However, because of illnesses in the cast, the final performances were canceled.
Oh.
Okay, so it had nothing to do with it being a flop.
No, because it had been running for 2 years.
So maybe I'm thinking about something else. I feel like just recently something tanked and they had to close early. And I thought it was attached to Elton John. But clearly I don't have my facts straight. And anyways, does not matter. We'll segue now into... This wasn't a complete... Why I chose that headline was it's sort of connected to what we're talking about today, which is fake movie biopics. I didn't think it was completely out of left field.
It's Katie's episode. This suits Katie. And finally, we get to show another side of you, Katie, because everyone who listens to the show thinks you're just a movie book person.
A book person.
That's right.
No, I contain multitudes.
You're a well-rounded human.
Yeah, I was thinking about what I wanted to do in terms of this podcast, and you kind of talked about it on the show about how I joked about doing a Tom Hanks episode. But you have actually, Taylor, seen a lot of the Tom Hanks, like my top 5 Tom Hanks movies,
Yep.
basically. And I think my favorite Tom Hanks movie is That Thing You Do, even though he's not like the main character in it. I just think that it is a highly rewatchable movie. And I know that you guys have talked on the show before about how the problems that you have with music biopics. And I was like, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of music biopics either.
Mhm.
However, when there is a fake band involved, I think it's just like an amazing. They're just all of my comfort watches. There are 3 that I know we're going to talk about, and then I had a couple of others that I thought about too. They just kind of are my favorite watches. The songs that get written for them are normally pretty good, and yeah, there are less stakes because they're not real people, so you don't have to like try and keep, because I think that's the issue that music biopics often fall into. It's like, oh, you're portraying the life of a real person, you have to get permissions from people, you can't portray like this part of their life, or you have to gloss over certain things, especially if the person is still alive. But
Is
with
Mike's
a fake, sorry.
Mike's big issue, and I'm Mike, you can interject if I'm wrong. You don't like how it's always the rise and fall is always stereotypical. You find that they're pretty boilerplate. Like
Yeah.
they're successful, they get addicted to drugs, they get sober, which is essentially that's Walk Hard, because it's a spoof of Walk the Line, which like very closely
I
follows
really
that
appreciated
introduction.
it, by the way. I had never seen Walk Hard, and I really
Oh, wow.
appreciated this movie.
Okay. I will say, in preparation for this episode, the only movie that I rewatched was Popstar and Never Stop Not Stopping. But I mean, That Thing You Do, I watch yearly, so I think we're pretty fresh on that. And
I also watch That Thing You Do yearly, so
yeah, it's just
I also
it's
don't
just
have
great.
to watch it. Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful movie.
I had to watch the Popstar movie, the Walk Hard, and I had seen That Thing You Do, but I rewatched it because I didn't remember it very well.
That's on brand for you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you want to do this, Katie? Do you want to just talk about each movie, or
Yeah, we
how
can
do you
talk
wanna-
about each movie and just kind of like why we like them. They kind of fit these kind of archetypes. So you have Walk Hard, which is and to an extent, I mean, Popstar is kind of its own thing. So Walk Hard is very much just a one-to-one spoof of
That's right.
Walk the Line.
Yeah.
It's like it came out around maybe a couple years after Walk the Line.
Mhm.
And it's just very much a spoof of a music biopic.
Mhm.
That Thing You Do is a bit different. It's a comedy just about a band that's a one-hit wonder. And
Yeah.
that's, it's like they had this idea of what happened to a one-hit wonder and then made this delightful movie about it. Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping is a little bit different because The Lonely Island, I think, is such a specific thing that
This
exists. And I've been having a lot of like Lonely Island nostalgia with SNL 50, and I'm a big podcast person, and The Lonely Island has a podcast now where they're going through all of their digital shorts with Seth Meyers and talking about them.
Hmm.
And I'm just loving that.
Of the 3, I felt like the Popstar one, the Lonely Islands one, was of such a specific
That is so
time-
different
time
from
and
the other
place.
two. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so different. Like it's such a different movie than the other two, I feel. Like it really is. And even the comedy is so different and it's so specific.
Yeah, it is like the Lonely Island SNL comedy. And there's no episode of the podcast yet about that movie, but I'm sure there will be, and I can't wait.
What's this podcast called?
It's literally called The Lonely Island with Seth Meyers podcast.
Really? Of course. Never
easy
mind.
to find.
Why did I even ask? Of course
Yeah.
that's what it's called.
At first, Mike, I thought you were asking like what the name of our podcast was, and I was like, "Oh,
Why
putting
would
Katie
I
on the spot.
ask?
I don't know.
What
Putting
the
Katie on the
name
spot.
of our podcast is.
I don't know. Anyways, so for you, What? We're already off to a
What do you-
great start.
Why would I ask on our show?
Mike, don't.
what the
I'm already
name of our-
embarrassed. Don't make me feel worse. I'm
this
getting
is
a cold.
This is the funniest thing that's ever happened.
Katie, you mentioned that Walk Hard is a spoof of Walk the Line, but
Yes.
for people who don't know, that's Johnny Cash.
Yes,
So-
the Johnny Cash. I would say it kind of like is Walk the Line the first music biopic that it's the first one that like I can remember. It's obviously not the first, but for our generation, I feel like that was such a big movie and kind of launched this genre.
I'm trying to think.
Music biopic specifically. It was Walk the Line, and then I think Ray came after that.
But wasn't there a movie?
I'm thinking specifically of Selena and the one with
Selena.
and the one the Whitney Houston one.
Amadeus was a huge
But
movie.
I understand what Katie's saying in the sense that it was like a kick off, like the genre was reinvigorated with Walk the Line. Because all the movies that you and I are listing, Mike, were the 90s and earlier.
The 90s, yeah.
Whereas this was like the first
a long gap.
2000s.
Yes. So this was 2005, and then there was like Ray, there was La Vie en Rose, which was the Edith Piaf one. Like there was just so many that came out.
When was that movie, Taylor, you've brought it up before, about a singer, I think Jennifer Lopez was in it.
That's Selena.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Christopher Walken
was that
plays
one?
the dad. That was definitely
was
the
that
90s.
Oh, okay. I thought for some reason it was later, but yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Where do we even start? I think of the three, Walk Hard was my favorite, so we maybe can just chat about that one, and we're talking about it already.
Yeah.
John C. Reilly has he sung on Broadway? Like he does sing. He was in Chicago.
He does. I don't think he's done Broadway, but I know when he auditioned for Chicago, he sent in a tape of himself singing Mr. Cellophane. And that was like his audition. Like, he didn't do anything else. He was like, this is my audition for it. So I know he can sing, but I don't think he's ever, or at least to this point, he hadn't done Broadway. He might have since, because they often do that. We'll bring in famous people. But I don't think by this point, I think he was just strictly a movie actor still.
This was one of those movies, Katie, I agree with you that the songs were actually good, even though when you listen to the lyrics, the lyrics are so stupid because it's a spoof.
Yeah, it's just such an interesting... what an interesting thing to have to do is write songs for a fake band.
Who does that? Like, who is it? The writers of the movie, or are they actually musicians?
Sometimes they bring in other people. Like I know the Fountains of Wayne guy actually wrote a lot of songs for movies like this that were like, oh, we have a fake band, we need a new song. One movie which I can't believe I didn't mention when I was talking about this, but I might want to talk about is Josie and the Pussycats. Taylor, was that on your radar at all as a kid?
It's not one that I rewatched. I probably have only seen it the once, but I guess that does count as a fake movie biopic. The other one we could have watched is Spice World.
Spice World. Well, Spice World, they were a real band. It's a fake movie about a real band.
But
I don't think that counts.
Spice World. Wait, hold on. Spice World's a real movie about a fake band? No,
it's a real band fake movie. But it's a real movie.
I mean, I guess it's a real movie, but it's not like it's not about their like rise to fame necessarily. It's just kind of like about them. Like there are aliens in it. They meet aliens. It's
a tour, right?
It's hard to explain.
It's like a tour movie, but
I don't remember this movie, but I think I watched it though. I think I did see it.
You must have. That was when we had on VHS. That was when we watched a lot of growing up. But they performed their actual songs in that movie.
Right,
yes.
Right. There weren't original songs written for the movie.
So it was Spice Girl music.
Right.
In Josie and the Pussycats with what's the name of that actress? She's one who was really popular in the 90s, and then she didn't have much of a career afterwards.
Well, there's three of them. It's Rachel Lee Cook.
That's who I was thinking of.
Tara Reid is the drummer. No, sorry.
Yeah.
Tara Reid is the bass player, and Rosario Dawson is the drummer.
Oh
And
yeah, Rosario
Rosario
Dawson.
Dawson has had a bit of a career afterwards.
And
But
Absolutely.
also featuring Parker Posey and Alan Cummings.
Right.
and it was
Two
Alan
people.
Cummings. Was Alan
Well,
Cummings also not in Spice World? Doesn't he
Um,
play like the
oh yeah,
the
he's in that.
agent
doesn't he?
or the
I thought he was in. I thought maybe Alan
he plays
Cummings
like
is
the
in that.
manager, I think.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
That's really
Now he's a
funny.
big Broadway guy. Like
But
he did a
interestingly,
lot of
doesn't
Broadway.
sing. I don't think he sings in either of those movies.
Which is odd because he's a Broadway guy. Like he's a singer.
yeah.
So I was pleasantly surprised by the amount of cameos that were in Walk Hard. I don't know what I was
Oh,
expecting,
yeah.
but I wasn't expecting that. And again, the movie feels more timeless, if you can say, than the Popstar movie, but it's similar in that there's a ton of celebrity cameos. But I love when celebrity do cameos and they just go full on, like the Beatles
Yes.
scene, how they're all playing it. They just seem like they're having so much fun playing the Beatles, even though it's such a dumb impression of the Beatles.
Yeah. That's like I rewatched that scene a lot. Just that like 3 minutes. It's phenomenal.
And how did they get, not that John C. Reilly was an unknown person at this time, but big stars are in this movie who continue to be big to this day.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I think that
sorry, go ahead.
I don't know how stuff like that works. If it is, I'm sure it's personal connections. Like John C. Reilly was a comedian. He was really good friends with Will Ferrell, I think.
Sure.
And just like had these personal connections. And I'm sure if other people were filming on a lot somewhere, it was like, hey, do you just want to come over and do this thing for like, 2 hours?
Yeah, I was just also looking up because sometimes the director did a lot more after than before. He had like a handful of credits before this movie, and then his career really took off. So sometimes it's the director who's the one that kind of comes in and has the connections. But yeah, if John C. Reilly knows this person, and again, you don't know like who the producing body is and who's involved, and sometimes people can just pull strings and get famous people in things. Which is pretty. Sometimes it's incredible what little tiny movies that you'll get all these celebrities who come in and do a cameo. It's wild.
That's the type of movie I would want to do. Like, Katie, if you were making movies and you were connected, and you said, Taylor, come make this, kick around set for half a day and be in my dumb movie. How fun would that be? Just kicking it with your friends.
Yeah,
that's probably what the Lonely Island movie was like too, because I think they're the buddies, they're all buddies, right?
Yeah, so like the three of them are really good friends, and then there's so many SNL cast members in the movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Popstar movie also just got all of these random celebrities to be themselves.
Huge musicians.
Yeah. But I think like that is also just coming from SNL. Like you get a new celebrity in there every week.
True.
Often two, you get a musical guest and a host. So
yeah, and I think a lot of people are willing for kind of the reasons, Taylor, that you brought up. You're going to get paid because you do get paid for this. It's a day on set, and it's going to be just so much fun. Like it's kind of not what they're used to in kind of the work hours that they have to do, and they get to kind of like do whatever. And I feel like for these kinds of films, it's easier to convince people because it's just probably this fun, ridiculous thing that they're doing. And a lot of people liked The Lonely Island from SNL. A lot of people like that kind of sense of humor. And I think they did have some pull to kind of bring people in to do it.
I'm not an SNL girly. I haven't really followed SNL. Nicole used to have the Best of Will Ferrell on DVD, and we watched that religiously in grade 8 and grade 9. Aside from that, I really don't have any emotional connection to SNL. So Lonely Island started as an SNL skit.
Yeah, like they were their own kind of group that came on and would do like, sometimes they have groups on SNL that are part of their cast, but essentially they would like do these skits, and a lot of them were music driven that they would do. And Andy Samberg was like a proper cast member for a long time. But the other two, I believe, were both writers. Like they were writers on SNL. Yeah.
Yeah. So anytime you see a digital short, that was them. It was the
Right.
three of them. So like, and the thing is, they talked about this on the podcast too, is like they got so famous so fast because of Lazy Sunday. Do you remember that?
I'm sure if I heard it, I would remember it.
Yeah,
I know
you would probably recognize it, I'm
I
sure.
can think of some of the videos. Like I remember Andy Samberg like in his like, you know, in his costumes and stuff, but like again, they weren't like I wasn't super invested. They have the one that they're on a boat, right? That's the
Yeah.
one I remember. That's
Yeah.
the big
So,
one.
like they came of it's crazy to be talking this way. It makes me feel so old, but like they came of age or like got really famous because YouTube was invented when they started on
Right.
SNL. So like Lazy Sunday was one of the first YouTube videos to go viral. And so it gets spoken about a lot in terms of like internet history and how important it is. And I think that kind of got them on SNL really famous really fast because people who weren't necessarily watching the show were able to see them on YouTube.
But was so just again, I just to wrap my head around it. So the Lazy Sunday, for instance, did that air on SNL first, or was that
Yes.
just back? Oh, okay, got it. And then they would upload it to YouTube as like a music video.
Yeah. And I don't even know if they uploaded it to YouTube. I think it just got uploaded.
Got it.
Because
And
for a
then
while, SNL was notorious about taking stuff down.
Yeah, that's a
yeah, it's
big
very
issue.
hard to find like live. Even now, I don't think you can find the live music performances.
Yeah, no, not the music.
So this movie came out at what, the height of their popularity then, Katie?
Yeah, I would say so. I don't know if it came out after Andy left the show.
I thought it did. Like I thought he
Yeah.
was done, and then this came out. Yeah.
So it came
thought
out
so.
in 2016, which is such an interesting political like time in culture to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Samberg, when did he leave SNL? But yeah, 2016. I would say this is kind of at the height of their fame. Like they have all of those videos on YouTube, like the "I'm on a Boat," which are all featuring other famous musicians, like the Captain Jack Sparrow with Michael Bolton and stuff. Like,
Oh yes, yeah.
They get all these really famous people to be on their records or on their singles.
Michael Bolton must have had a great time with "I'm on a Boat," or vice versa, depending on the timeline, because he's also in this movie, just giving it his all, belting
Yeah,
it.
he is. And he showed up at the SNL 50 concert to sing like a Lonely Island medley.
Oh, so they must have, again, that is the best. That's the best gig. You're just having a good time with your buddies. Obviously, it's kind of the odd couple, Michael Bolton and Lonely Island. At some point, they hit it off, and now they're just, you know, making beautiful medleys. I love that. I wish.
Yeah, and I will say I've like never heard anyone complain about working with them. It seems like the three of them are probably just really fun and easy to work with, and that goes a long way. And that's how you get all of these random celebrities to show up and talk about a fake pop star.
I felt this movie was very much, whereas Walk Hard is, like you said, Katie, like a direct spoof of Walk the Line. This movie felt like a spoof of Justin Bieber. Like they were making fun of Justin Bieber.
Yeah, I think that makes sense as well for the time of like 2016. That's kind of when Justin starts to hit his trouble. It's also like what it's more like, to be honest, is something like Spinal Tap, which is another fake music biopic, because it's also a mockumentary. It's filmed through a series of interviews, and Spinal Tap is similarly about a metal band who's kind of hit on hard times because their latest album isn't great. And because of like Spinal Tap and the Lonely Island movie, I think also probably have a lot of improv that occurred. Just looking at the cast that's involved.
I'll be honest, of the three, like I said at the beginning of the show, I feel like this one is the most dated.
Really?
And I just didn't find it as funny as the other two. Like it was one of those cases of, I don't know, the jokes felt so particular to a time and place, and I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. But I wonder, Katie, if I had watched this movie in 2016, if I thought it would have been hilarious.
I think that maybe it is like a very specific Lonely Island sense of humor, which I'm still trying to figure out how to define. It's very, like, on the face of it, it's very stupid, everything that they do. Like, so much of their videos and their songs are all very, like, dumb humor, but there's actually a lot of thought behind most of it. And especially in listening to the podcast and listening to them talk about their videos and like the specific references that they're pulling from, like, being in California, and all of these things make you realize that, oh, it's not just a stupid song or stupid music. Like, these are three guys who thought a lot about what they were doing, but also wanted to have like a lot of fun doing it.
That makes sense. I wonder if, because I missed kind of the Lonely Island boat, it's just like it's a piece of pop culture that has kind of passed me by. Whereas
Yeah.
I felt like Walk Hard was more absurdist in his humor. Like, there were definitely like dumb moments, but it's just like zany and weird, and like, oh, here's like a bad caricature of the Beatles, and Jack Black, who you would never think is going to be a Beatle, is one of the Beatles. Like, it was more my sense of humor, I guess, compared to the other movie. And so Walk Hard resonated a little bit more with me, but I also don't listen to pop, quote unquote, pop music. So I liked the music in the other movie better too.
Yeah,
there was also that.
I think the thing about the Lonely Island movie too is, like, pop music in, I want to say, 2010 to 2017 sounded like, everything sounded like that.
Yeah.
And so I think that I really appreciate that reference and that humor. I'm not arguing with you saying that one is better than the other.
No.
I love Walk Hard as well. There is a lot of like SNL cast overlap too.
Just kind of older.
Sorry?
I feel like they are maybe just like a generation older, or like not like the cast. Were they on SNL at the same time?
No. Well, Kristen Wiig was overlapped with The Lonely Island.
Oh, okay.
And she was in Walk Hard, right? She plays his first wife.
Yeah. And then randomly the woman from The Office.
Yeah, Jenna Fisher.
What's her name, Katie?
Jenna Fisher.
Jenna Fisher, who hasn't, correct me if I'm wrong, she hasn't had much of a career after The Office. So for me, it was so weird seeing her in a lead role. But I guess she would have been, that probably overlapped with when she was on air with The Office, I assume, right?
Yeah, I think so. That makes sense. Also, just to bring it back, she was in Mean Girls, the musical, the movie.
She was?
Oh, yeah, she's the mom.
She's the mom.
Interesting. Okay.
Unrelated. But Tim Meadows is in both movies. He's the agent in Popstar,
yes!
And he's a band member in Walk Hard, right?
And he's also
keeps saying.
Sorry to interrupt, Katie, but he's also in Mean Girls.
Yes.
Wait, who do you play in Mean Girls?
The teacher. Oh yeah, sorry, the principal.
Oh right, in the original and the
reboot, I think.
Yeah, he reprises his role.
Yeah, because I think he and Tina Fey are good friends.
Yes,
he's really found his niche.
Yes, he has. Mean Girls.
And musical biopics. Oh. Mike, do you have? Katie and I are just kind of gabbing like old gal pals about these two movies. What are your take comparing the two?
I'm loving the rest. I gotta be completely honest. I'm loving listening to this. Oh no, I actually agree with what you're saying, Taylor. Like I do think that Popstar is more of a time, and Walk Hard has a little more
staying power.
Again, though, I don't know if I would have appreciated as much if I hadn't seen the Johnny Cash movie, though, because it is like pretty like hitting this. I know it goes into like other things that are just like biopics, but I feel like it is very Johnny Cash-esque. What's that one called? the Line. I don't know.
Walk the Line.
Yeah, it is called Walk the Line. Yeah. So I think that helped with that one a little bit. But I do think Popstar, if I didn't like The Lonely Island, I think there are a lot of people who just don't get that sense of humor, and maybe are not into that sense of humor.
You pose a very interesting question, Mike. Do you have to see the original IP or the original source material to find a spoof funny? So I think of the Airplane movies, which I think, no, they're remaking Naked Gun, but that's another example. So Naked Gun makes fun of, like, I want to say spy procedural movies, and then Airplane makes fun of disaster movies. So, or Young Frankenstein, for instance, all of these like spoof movies, which that's a whole other conversation about how we don't make spoof movies anymore, even though we should. Do you need, is the mark of a good spoof that you don't have to have any familiarity with the genre conventions or the original IP for you to still find it funny? Like, I think of, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I would argue, like you said, if it's going to be a good one, you shouldn't need it.
Yeah, oh, sorry, there's like some motorcycles outside.
Yeah, boy, did we hear that rumble.
I tend to agree with that. I think that if it's a good movie, it means that you don't have to see the other IP. And like, it's always nice when, because then sometimes you go and watch the IP afterwards and it adds this other layer to it. But like Taylor, you mentioned the Mel Brooks movies. Like, I watched those growing up as a kid, and I had never seen, like, I didn't watch a lot of Westerns, but I loved Blazing Saddles, you know? And I never saw any of the Robin Hood movies, but I love Robin Hood Men in Tights. And I just think that, and Spaceball's a little different because I did have the Star Wars knowledge, but I think in order to be a successful spoof, you can't have too much direct references that rely so hard on people seeing things, but it is nice to throw those in for the people who have.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's kind of like a little extra, right? It's kind of like we've talked about Marvel movies on this show a lot. The best ones are the ones you don't have to see all the movies, but if you do, you just get something special out of it. But it's got to stand on its own. And I do believe that about when you're spoofing something. Airplane's a fantastic movie. If you didn't see the exact movie that they're like basically recreating, and it does spoof a bunch of different things, but it's because it's amazing. Even Young Frankenstein, if you've never seen a Frankenstein movie, I still think you could love that movie because there's just so many funny moments, and I think that does matter a lot.
I guess I'm too close to Walk Hard than to give it a fair assessment, Mike, because you said you think you felt like you benefited from watching the original movie. I'm a big Johnny Cash fan. I saw Walk the Line, but only once, and when it like first came out. So I don't know, like, I felt like this movie is a standalone. Like, I didn't feel like it was a direct spoof of that movie. I just thought it was more like poking fun at the a country singer's rise. I don't know, like, I guess I'm having a hard time knowing, was the movie good but on its own merits, or did I just think the movie was good because I like Johnny Cash? I thought the movie was funny. I thought it had a good cast. You know what I'm trying to say?
I did just feel I benefited a bit from knowing where this was coming from. Like, I did kind of, I think, chuckle a bit more and kind of understood that. But I still think this movie was pretty solid on its own, though. Like, sure. I would argue that it does meet that goal of being good on its own. I would argue that about Walk Hard. I was pleasantly surprised. I honestly didn't know what to think going into this. And I was pleasantly surprised by it.
Katie, having which one did you rewatch? Did you rewatch Walk Hard? I can't remember now.
No, I didn't rewatch Walk Hard, but it is still pretty fresh.
It stands up in your memory. You think that it's still a good one? Yeah,
I will say I never actually saw Walk the Line.
Oh, there
so you go. I can be the litmus test here.
That tells you right
maybe
there.
I saw parts of it, or it was on somewhere, but I wasn't paying. Like, I don't know. I don't remember any of it. Maybe I've seen like the clips of them singing because Reese Witherspoon, I believe, was June Carter Cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I've seen clips of like the performances of them singing, but that's it. I didn't see the movie. And I I think that Walk Hard is great, but again, it is also my sense of humor of just very stupid.
I wasn't expecting it to be as stupid. And when I say stupid, Katie, I think you mean it in the same way too. It's kind of like it's the same way I say Adam Sandler movies are stupid, but I also
Yeah.
still love Adam Sandler movies. This
Yeah,
kind
there's
of
like
like
nothing.
dumb sense of humor. But I wasn't expecting the movie opens with a kid. Well, it happens like a couple minutes in, but like a couple minutes in, someone gets macheted. And then
Yeah.
like and then the person continues to talk after they were macheted. I'm like, oh, it's this
This
type
is what
of
we're doing.
movie. This is
I
what
mean,
we're doing.
it's very good at setting the tone right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's again another one that we didn't necessarily talk about was I don't know, did you guys talk about this one on the podcast, the Weird Al Yankovic movie?
Oh, I did. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, so that's also an interesting case because it's a fake biopic of a real person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, but also the humor in that I found similar. To me, it didn't hit the same way. I think that Walk Hard was better.
Yeah, yeah.
But that is also a similar stupid sense of humor, I think.
Yeah, I would agree, and I do think the sense of humor is quite similar. I did enjoy the Weird Al movie, but yeah, I would say it was similar. And I think Walk Hard, though, I do think it can stand a little more on its own, because again, if you're not really a Weird Al fan, I don't think you can get a lot out of that movie. But I do feel like even if you're not really into music biopics, which I'm not, I understand the genre, but I'm not into it. There was a lot I got out of Walk Hard. Like, I just feel like it was a very well done movie overall.
Yeah, and it spoofs the things that you complain about music biopics being, right? Like the rise,
That's right.
and then the addicted to drugs, and then the fall, and then the comeback kind of thing.
Yeah.
While also deciding to like throw shade at the Beatles for their stint in India.
I love it. I love when anyone takes a shot at the Beatles.
I know. I forgot that about you. Tom Hanks and the Beatles, the two things you hate the most.
Wow.
It's not, I promise I'm not contrary. I'm not a contrarian. I just think that the Beatles are overhyped. But it's interesting, like these two movies are definitely spoofs or comedy movies. And then I feel like, Katie, you almost threw us, I mean, it's not an odd addition knowing your love for Tom Hanks, but it doesn't feel like the other two movies that thing you do.
No.
Yeah, I think I just wanted an excuse to talk about it because I love it so much.
It's a great movie.
For me, this is like the perfect film in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me out in figuring out and describing like why that is, or what is it about this movie that is so. I just find it so delightful and wonderful, and I never get tired of it.
Well, it is an excellent movie. I think it's one of those like highly entertaining, but also like a movie with a lot of heart. And I do think like hit song that they came up with is really catchy.
Yeah,
and really interesting. And I do think like I think what this movie does really well is it creates some very likable, interesting characters. The band is a little different, but it kind of really focuses on a few people. And I do think it just did all the right things that you wanted of a movie. Like I mentioned, I watched this yearly too. It's a yearly rewatch for me because I just think it's so much fun, but it has a lot of heart to the movie, which I think hits for people. It's such a feel good movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think that that's exactly it. And you're right that the song that they write for the movie is it's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great song. Like that would have been a one-hit wonder from the 60s.
Definitely. I think so.
It's funny because when I was growing up, my dad had like a mix CD and that song was on it. And I was convinced, I had no idea it was from a movie until like I was a teenager.
Yeah, yeah.
Your dad sounds really cool, Katie.
Thanks.
He had his mixed CD. What year did this movie come out that he just had mixed CDs in the house with this on it?
Well, no, someone at work when burning CDs was like a big thing, like burned him a CD, and this was one of the songs that was on it. It wasn't. I don't think it was contemporary with the movie.
So, but the coworker.
This movie is the 90s, maybe.
Yeah, and
Well,
it came
yeah.
out in the '90s, mid '90s. But I gotta say, my burnt CDs were quite popular and famous. The Best of Mike was always a great time.
Were they were in hot demand, Mike?
Yeah. Every time I burned one, it was used. So
There you go. I it probably will come as no surprise to our listeners. I am not as enthusiastic about this movie.
oh, of course.
Grumble, grumble, grumble. So interesting. I did find it interesting that this is Tom Hanks' directorial debut. I believe he wrote
Mhm.
and directed this movie. He
Just
did
launched
not,
his company, I think.
but
Right.
he hasn't directed much since, has he?
He's done a handful of movies.
Okay.
And he did hasn't he done some TV, like World War II TV stuff for
Yes.
Apple?
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Yes, he did do
He's
that.
just
Yeah.
a dad.
Yep. So Tom Hanks, for people who haven't seen this movie, he does not do the trifecta, which I absolutely hate, where you write, direct, and star. He at least had the good sense to not star in this movie. So as Katie alluded to, he plays sort of the, what would you say, like the manager, the agent?
The
Yeah,
manager.
he's a record executive who
Record
comes
exec.
in to manage them.
Yeah.
So my biggest gripe with this movie is I found the acting, and you guys are saying like, oh, this movie is so heartwarming, like it's really wholesome. That's how Dan describes it. Oh, it's just like a wholesome movie. I found the acting really corny.
Right.
Mike's like holding on to his desk. He's like, ooh, what else is she gonna say?
I'm fine. Taylor, of everyone I've spoken to this week, you bother me the least.
The bar is low. So maybe you guys, so you can, Katie, you asked for our help describing this movie. Maybe you can help me. Like I guess some people would say the acting maybe it was like earnest, which is like what Tom Hanks does in movies. I felt like he was the actor who played Guy. I felt like Tom Hanks was just directing him to play a caricature of Tom Hanks. And then everyone else was like kind of corny. And I was like, okay, so this is just the vibe of the movie. Like that's fine. But it's not really for me.
Which is fair. I think one thing that's really important is that this movie is set in the 60s.
Sure.
And it lends itself to that kind of campiness. Like the colors are bright and the fashion is amazing. And they go to the Beverly Hills Hotel and it's all pastel and it's beautiful. But because it has that like campiness to it, the acting kind of works for me. Because I do see what you're saying in that, you know, the actor who plays Guy, I believe his name is Tom Everett Scott. This was his first role, really. I think he had done a little bit before, and he hasn't really done much since.
No.
Which is surprising to me, because I actually really love him in this movie. But then you look at some of the people who are in this, like Liv Tyler went on to have a pretty big career.
Yep.
Charlize Theron is his first girlfriend, who at this time is like really unknown.
Pre-Arrested Development.
Steve Zahn goes on to do some like
lots
to
of
be
comedy.
a bigger name.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think Steve Zahn is kind of the superstar of this movie. He really, like, you can tell that he is a talented actor compared to maybe the other guys in the band.
The strongest actor of the bunch.
Yeah.
But also they're supposed to be like these young guys who are in an environment that's kind of foreign to them. And I think that plays.
I hear what you're saying, Katie, and I definitely understand the cornball. Like when we think of 1960s pop, it is kind of cornball. And so I understand what Tom Hanks was going for. Again, it's just like it didn't work for me. Because like, sure, like were people as cornball as that in the 1960s? They were real people were real people in the 60s without being cliches. But I guess what you're saying is overall he was going for a certain tone. And interestingly, this movie was critically panned when this movie came out. And I wonder if critics felt the same way that I do. Like we just like didn't really get it.
Didn't kind of get it. Yeah.
I'm sure that that is the case. And I do think that it's become a bit more of a
Cult classic. People
I
like
don't
it.
know if classic is the right word, but definitely appreciated later. It's just a highly rewatchable movie. And sometimes that doesn't mean that a movie is good. I just think for me it's just something that's really comforting and I don't have to think that much about it and I know where the jokes are and it's beautiful to look at. The song is fun.
The
And I
conflict
do,
is going to be resolved.
Yeah.
yeah, I do think there's something to be said though about two things. One, the different characters in this band. Again, is I guess I have a biased perspective because looking at artists who do something together, like those four types of people are very common. You got the talented person who believes he's more talented than everybody else, who just cares about the art, purity of the art. You've got the other like really talented person who no one realizes is more talented than the talented guy, but doesn't is just more cool and collective and like does it for the passion.
The
but it's
mic.
just like the what? He just got yeah. Listen.
I'm just kidding.
Moving on, and then you've got the goofball who's
Yeah.
got talent but is silly and funny and is there for joy and fun, and then you got the person like the bass player who's literally just there
Along
as
the ride.
until he's on to something else, right? Which is like the person who leaves to go join the army. Like that's you see that in arts a lot in working on different arts things. So I think I appreciate that, but I recognize these people, which makes it kind of an interesting movie for me.
Yeah, and I think another thing that's interesting is I don't know. Would you characterize this movie like okay? Yeah, it's a comedy. It's light. At the end, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, but like the guy gets the girl. But does the movie have a happy ending? Because the band breaks up.
Yeah, it's not a happy ending.
Well, I guess it has a happy ending if you read the post credit, like
Yeah, I think it has a like fulfilling ending, and I think there's a certain amount of joy you get from certain seeing what certain people do. Like certainly, again, the way the movie ends, even before the post, like the scroll is like you get this guy, the guy who we've been with this whole thing, kind of gets this opportunity to have this amazing session with someone he really admires, and he feels fulfilled, and you see this light about him. Maybe gonna be with Liv Tyler's character, like, and you see these kind of nicer moments that I think fills you in a certain way. Where the band staying together, I don't think was the point. It's the people.
No, exactly. But like when you think about it, if you just take it at its face value, the movie is about the band, and
Right.
the end of the movie is them breaking up.
The band breaks up. That's right. Yeah.
And I actually think that Tom Hanks plays. He puts himself in the movie. He's not starring, but he's an interesting character because he's not actually that likable. He's kind of an asshole.
smarmy. He's like your typical exec, and he doesn't really care about the band.
So I gotta say this, when as Taylor was trying to pin me as one of these artists, I'm Tom Hanks as an artist. I'm Tom Hanks, right? The thing about Tom Hanks is in his character, like okay, he's not very likable. One, he's not cruel. He's just blunt to the point. He knows what works. He treats people with respect. I mean, he treats Liv Tyler with more respect than her boyfriend does,
sure.
right? So he treats people with respect, but he is like, this is the way it's done. This is what happens. You do what I say, and I'm going to make you a star. And he was right.
Yeah, and he just caring about the bottom line, and that doesn't make him a bad person. He's just doing his job.
He's doing his job, which is to care about the big picture, not all the little nuances of it. And I think that's really interesting. Like, I think it was interesting that they had his character in it. And I think that that's like a very interesting way to kind of go about that. And the fact that he was playing it is kind of, I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and I like there are just some parts of the movie like I love when they're playing this festival and like there's the African American girl group and like they're very talented singing.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of it just felt very real. Having to film the movie, like be cameos in like that movie, I think is so funny and probably just true to real life. Like that was a thing that happened in the 60s a lot is you had musicians insert themselves into whatever weird fandom there was at the time.
Overall, I think the movie was fine. So I don't want to I understand why Mike and Katie, why you guys like this movie. Again, it's just a matter of I just didn't, 100% land with me.
Yeah, that's
So
okay. We're allowed to have different opinions about
a
things.
different.
I guess.
I felt like I'm like, if I have to hear this song one more time, I'm gonna lose it because I
Oh
felt like
yeah,
they
it's stuck in your head for the rest of the week.
and then Dan played it on YouTube after the movie was done. So I don't know. To me, this is a see it, or I should say a stream it. I think this movie is fine. I think you certainly could watch this with a. This would be a very good movie for a mixed audience. You know,
Yeah.
especially if you don't know the taste of the other person. Maybe you're watching it with a couple family members. I think this is a very safe, exactly how you guys described it. It's kind of happy-go-lucky. It's not a stressful watch. The cinematography and the production design is very good. The song is catchy. It just isn't like this wouldn't be one of my nostalgia rewatch picks personally.
That's fair.
Mike, thoughts?
Yeah. No, that's totally fine. That's absolutely fine. I think Taylor, you really don't like Tom Hanks.
I just like
That also
for
comes into
me,
play.
I won't. You said the quiet thing out loud, Mike.
When did I say that?
Me not liking Tom Hanks.
That's not the quiet thing. You've said that out loud many times.
My gripe with Tom Hanks, and I feel the same about Meryl Streep, and I know people are going to come for me about me not liking Meryl Streep. I feel like they don't lose themselves in the character. I feel like I'm always hyper aware that I'm watching Tom Hanks on screen. Like, to me, I didn't feel like Tom Hanks was some sort of chameleon in this role. I'm like, yep, that's Tom Hanks playing Tom Hanks. And then he directed the guy who plays Guy as Tom Hanks. Thanks.
This is the most anti-Taylor movie you could come up with.
No, I think that
the space
I
one.
think Apollo 13. Yeah, exactly.
That's true. That's true. The space one of the most famous movies of all time. The space one.
Yeah.
We knew how this was gonna go, but in terms of Katie, we're running out of time, and I want to hear about some of the other movies that you had on your list. But Walk Hard for me was a light see it. I think the sense of humor is not gonna land with everyone. Like, it's definitely kind of stupid, kind of dumb, really out there, kind of absurd, but definitely humor that I like. Almost like Mike, like I think you should leave now. Like borderline, that kind of weird. Don't you think so? That kind of weird, like people getting macheted. You don't normally. That's like a very.
I guess I could see your point. Actually, yeah,
that kind of unique type of humor. And then, Katie, I'm sorry, the Popstar movie for me was a skip it. I think you could do without that movie out of the three.
Oh wow, I'm surprised to hear you say that.
Yeah, me too.
I think maybe I just missed the Lonely Island boat.
That's fair.
I
think
making us cry all over the place.
I mean, you came in so hard against That Thing You Do. I'm really surprised that of all of them, Popstar was the skip it.
Me too.
I think that Thing You Do is a well-crafted movie.
Yeah,
I didn't agree with all of the direction choices, but I think it's a well-crafted movie, and I find the storyline pleasant enough. With the Popstar movie, I also am not like a ride or die for Andy Samberg. Like, I definitely missed the boat on all of his movies. My only frame of reference for him is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So I don't feel like attached to this IP that maybe you two feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see that. I think especially with Popstar, if you don't like that brand of comedy, you're not familiar with them, I do think that puts you at a bit of a disadvantage. Like, I think that makes it harder to kind of climb out of that.
So, do you guys want to give your quick ratings, and then Katie, why don't you rattle off some of the other movies we didn't have a chance to talk about?
Yeah, I'll give my ratings quickly first, and then Katie, give yours and go right into your movies, and then you can sign us off the show. I'm going to give them all a see it.
Easy.
Yeah. I think that That Thing You Do is definitely a see it. I think that the other two are stream it's. Walk Hard might be more of a see it, but I do think that Popstar is a stream it. you know, just throw that on at home in an afternoon. It's a tight 90 minutes when you just need something brainless. But yeah, I mean, I kind of mentioned them already, but the only other movie that I would encourage people to revisit or watch is Josie and the Pussycats. It's a great movie. It's, you know, with a kind of subversively anti-capitalist message, but Alan Cummings and Parker Posey are both in it, and both of them are kind of having a bit of a resurgence right now. The music in that, it was all written by Biff Naked, I think.
Oh yeah, also Canadian.
Also Canadian, but like pop punk princess music, like very Avril Lavigne adjacent, even though the movie might predate Avril Lavigne a little bit. But the music in that movie, honestly, even if you don't watch the movie, just listen to the music. It's great and of a very specific time, but I still listen to it when I like work out and stuff. So that's all I'll say. Just my pitch for Josie and the Pussycats, and maybe if I win the Oscar poll next year, we'll do an episode about that.
Sounds fun. All right. Go see some movies.
Thank you for listening to You Had Me at Skip It, a Soul One Arts Inc. podcast. This podcast is produced by Mike Shepard and Austin Spinner Summer. It is a project of Soul One Arts Inc. To learn more about Soul One and all the great work that Soul One is doing in the arts community, especially in film, theater, and other performing arts, visit soul1arts.ca. You can contribute to this podcast by visiting soul1arts.ca and going to the podcast tab. You'll find all the information on You Have Me at Skip It and how you can get your questions read on air each week. Thank you again for listening.